Okay, you have to tell me if I'm going crazy. Seriously. Because I swear to God, my entire family is treating me like I just committed a federal crime. I'm getting these drive-by glares from my own aunt in the dairy aisle at the supermarket. My mom called yesterday and the entire 10-minute conversation was just sighs. You know that deep, disappointed mom sigh? The one that says, I can't believe I raised such a heartless heathen? Yeah, that one for 10 solid minutes. And for what? All I did, honestly, all I did was suggest we update the annual family reunion. Just a little bit. I thought, maybe we could finally join the rest of the world in the 21st century instead of pretending it's 1985 every single year. But Leela, God, you would have thought I suggested we bulldoze Grandma's house. My cousin Leela, who's suddenly been canonized as Saint Leela of the Perpetual Pot Roast, has somehow orchestrated this silent coup. I'm not even kidding, it's like a memo went out and now I'm completely iced out. And I don't get it, I really don't. How did this happen? It was about a party, a party. A single afternoon of lukewarm potato salad and awkward conversations. How does a suggestion about canapes and maybe a playlist that wasn't created before the fall of the Berlin Wall turn you into a family pariah? It's completely insane, right? Like she's the one who's overreacting, making this whole massive drama out of nothing, but somehow I'm the bad guy. It feels like I'm in some bizarro world where wanting things to be nice, and not soul-crushingly boring is suddenly a capital offense. I was just trying to help, honestly. But now I'm the enemy, and I just don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, look, I get it. Leela has always been the keeper of traditions or whatever. For as long as I can remember, she's been the one organizing everything. Every holiday, every birthday, and especially the big one, the annual August family reunion. And yeah, I'll give her credit, she works hard. She has this giant, terrifying 3-ring binder labeled Reunion in a gold embossed font. It's got tabs for everything. Guest lists from 1998, seating charts and recipes written on faded index cards in our grandmother's spidery handwriting. She basically inherited the role from Grandma Jean, and she treats that binder with the same solemnity as if she were guarding the Dead Sea Scrolls. But honestly, it's a total drag. It's been the exact same party for 15 years. I'm not exaggerating. The same dry, overcooked roast beef that you need a gallon of water to swallow. The same sweaty cheese cubes and jello salad with shredded carrots suspended in it like prehistoric insects in amber. The same vinyl tablecloths with the little smiling daisies on them that are weirdly sticky to the touch. And the music, God, the music. A single CD of 50s doo-wop that plays on a loop for 6 hours straight. It's not charmingly retro, it's just sad. Last year, I posted one picture on my Instagram story, and a friend replied, OMG, is that a theme party? Like a time capsule? I was so embarrassed. I told them it was a joke. A joke. That's how I feel about my own family's biggest event of the year. So this year I thought, why not try something different? I put together a whole proposal, I was trying to be genuinely helpful, not critical. I sent it to the family group chat. Hey guys. Had some fun ideas for the reunion this year to shake things up. I suggested we do a modern potluck, like a tapas or appetizer theme, so no one gets stuck cooking a giant, sweaty roast in the middle of August. I suggested a self-serve cocktail bar with some fun mixers instead of just warm cans of beer in a cooler. And, for the love of God, a collaborative Spotify playlist so we could have music from this century. I even made a sample playlist. Leela's response came like 5 minutes later, a single message. Thanks for the suggestions, Poppy, but I think everyone really looks forward to the traditions we have. It's what makes it special. And that was it, case closed. Before I could even type a reply, the floodgates opened. Aunt Carol, oh, but I love Leela's roast. It wouldn't be the reunion without it. Uncle Mike, yeah, gotta have the oldies playing. It was a total pylon. I tried to push back a little like, haha, but maybe Special could use a little upgrade, and she just didn't reply. Left me on read while everyone else kept posting little hearts on her original message. It was so humiliating, I felt so dismissed. Like I was some petulant kid at the adults' table who didn't understand. And that's what really started to piss me off, the condescension. It wasn't just about the party anymore. It was about my ideas, my taste, my entire way of seeing the world being treated as silly and irrelevant. It became a thing I had to prove. I had to prove I was right, so the whole thing came to a head last weekend. About 10 of us were at my aunt's house for a casual Sunday dinner, kind of a pre-planning meeting for the reunion. The whole time, I could feel this tension. Leela was there with her binder, laid out on the table like it was a sacred text, and she was going over the schedule with this intense, focused frown. Okay, so guests arrive at 2 p.m. Appetizers will be served on the patio until 3:30. Aunt Carol, I have you down for the cheese cube and pickle station. I was just sitting there, my fork scraping against my plate, stewing. Listening to her talk about cheese cubes and napkin rings like she was planning the D-Day invasion. And the way everyone was nodding along, so serious, it just snapped something in me. My blood started to feel hot and fizzy. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to win. I had to make them see how utterly, painfully ridiculous this all was. When she paused to take a sip of her iced tea, I saw my opening. I didn't even mean for it to come out the way it did, but it just erupted. I stood up. I don't know why I stood up, it was so dramatic, but my legs just straightened. Can I just say something? I started, and the whole table went quiet, all eyes on me. I said, trying to keep my voice steady and reasonable like I was a lawyer giving a closing argument, that we're missing a huge opportunity here. We're all so stuck on tradition that we're forgetting to ask if these traditions are even any good, or if anyone under the age of 60 actually enjoys them. Leela's eyes narrowed. Poppy, we've been over this in the group chat. Her voice was tight. No, we haven't, I shot back, my voice getting louder, sharper. You shut it down. So let's actually talk about it right here, right now. Your menu, for example. I looked around at my aunts and uncles, making eye contact with each of them. Does anyone honestly get excited about dry roast beef in the middle of a heat wave? Or that weird, jiggly jello salad? A modern party is about light, interesting food people can graze on. Little skewers, bruschetta, a nice charcuterie board, things that are fresh and look good on Instagram. It's not the 1970s anymore. I saw a flicker of something in Leela's face, hurt maybe, but I was on a roll. The words were just pouring out. And the decorations, those same faded paper lanterns and plastic tablecloths every single year, it looks like a sad, low-budget school picnic. We could do something elegant, you know? Some nice string lights, linen napkins, maybe a simple modern color scheme. It would show we have some, I don't know, some pride in how we present ourselves. It's embarrassing, honestly. The word embarrassing just hung in the air. I saw my mom flinch, but I couldn't stop. I was on a righteous crusade. And the music, my God, the music. We have the entire history of recorded sound at our fingertips, and we choose to listen to 6 hours of the platters. It's a family reunion, not a retirement home. We want people to feel energized, to have fun, not feel like they've time traveled to their own grandparents' courtship. I punctuated every argument with a little, I'm just saying. It would be better for everyone, or this is about making it an event we can all be proud of. I was framing it as an act of service, of improvement. I was fixing our broken, embarrassing family traditions. I was saving them from themselves. And I didn't look at Leela, not once, I couldn't. I just kept talking to the room, to the jury of my family, making my case. I dismantled her binder without ever touching it. By the time I finished, there was this dead, heavy silence. I had laid out my argument, irrefutable and logical, I had won. But the look on Leela's face, it wasn't angry, it was just empty. She was completely white, like all the blood had drained from her face. My little speech definitely worked. I mean, in the most awkward, horrible way possible, it worked. The silence at that dinner table was deafening. It was thick and heavy, like you could have cut it with one of Leela's dull butter knives. You could hear the ice melting in people's glasses. Everyone was just staring at their plates, at the ceiling, anywhere but at me or Leela. I had said the unsayable, and now no one knew what to do. My own mother was just slowly folding and refolding her napkin into a tiny, perfect square, her jaw tight. Finally, my great-uncle Robert, who's sort of the family patriarch and whose opinion is basically law, cleared his throat. He has this big, booming voice that always sounds like a final judgment. Well, he said, looking at me with a complicated expression, then at Leela's pale face, then back at me. The girls got a point. It wouldn't kill us to try something new for a change. He said it so reluctantly, like he was admitting a terrible secret. He turned to me. Fine. Poppy, you seem to have a lot of ideas. You can handle the arrangements this year. And that was it, my victory. It didn't feel like a victory, though. It felt gross. Like I'd won a race by tripping the other runner at the finish line. I looked over at Leela, expecting a fight or tears or at least a bitter retort, but there was nothing. She just gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. She quietly closed her binder, the one with the gold lettering. The sound of the rings clicking shut echoed in the silent room. She stood up, her movements stiff and robotic, gathered her purse, and without a word to anyone, she walked out of the room. A moment later, we heard the front door close behind her with a soft, final click. At the time, I just thought, wow, she's being a sore loser. I was still so wrapped up in the adrenaline of being right that I couldn't see anything else. I told myself she just needed time to cool off, that she'd get over it. But then, a few hours later, I saw the notification on my phone. Leela has left the family fun group chat. That was the first real pang of, oh, maybe I went too far. But I pushed it down. I told myself she was being dramatic. But the next few days were weird. My calls to her went straight to voicemail. My texts with their bright green delivered status went unanswered. Then I started noticing it with other people. My Aunt Carol, who usually calls me twice a week to gossip, was suddenly silent. When I ran into my cousin Sam at the grocery store, he gave me this tight, polite smile and practically sprinted away from the cereal aisle. It was like I had won the battle, but in doing so, I'd somehow become radioactive. The victory I had fought so hard for was just me, alone, in a silent, empty room. The whole family was closing ranks, building an invisible wall, and I was on the outside. The cold shoulder went on for another week, and I was starting to lose my mind. It's one thing to be right, it's another thing to be completely ostracized. I finally cornered my cousin Sam as he was leaving the gym. He's always been the Switzerland of the family, the neutral party. Sam, what the hell is going on? I pleaded. Why is everyone treating me like I have the plague? It was just a party plan. He looked so uncomfortable. He kept shifting his gym bag from one shoulder to the other. Poppy, you don't get it, do you? Get what? I was practically shouting. That Leela's a sore loser. That everyone else is enabling her childish tantrum. He sighed this deep, weary sigh. Look, I went over to see her the night after that dinner. She was a wreck, crying. I've never seen her cry like that. He paused, looking me right in the eye. And you know what she said to me? She said she doesn't understand. It was never about the roast beef. Sam leaned against his car and his voice got quiet. She told me for 15 years that party has been my thing. It's the one thing I do for this family that's just mine. I do it because Grandma Jean asked me to keep her memory alive. It's how I show I care. And then she said, Poppy didn't just say my plan was bad. She stood up in front of everyone, in front of the people whose respect I care about most, and she said that I was embarrassing. That the one thing I contribute to this family is a joke. She didn't just tear down a party, Sam. She tore down my entire worth to this family and stomped on it. Hearing him repeat her words, it was like getting punched in the stomach. Every word was a perfect echo of my own smug, cruel speech. Embarrassing, sad, low budget. I had used all those words. I thought I was critiquing a menu and some decorations. But I wasn't. I was critiquing her, her effort, her love, her entire identity within our family, and I had done it in public for sport, just to win an argument. The realization hit me so hard I felt dizzy. I had been so obsessed with being right, I never stopped to think about what I was making her feel. I hadn't just won an argument. I'd publicly executed her sense of self-worth, and so the party happened. My party. I went all out, partly because I felt like I had to prove my point, and partly out of some desperate hope that if it was perfect enough, everyone would forget how we got here. It looked amazing. I have to admit, it was everything I said it would be. We had it in the late afternoon with beautiful string lights twinkling in the backyard. I'd hired a caterer for the tapas, and they were incredible artichoke hearts, bacon-wrapped dates, mini quiches. I made a killer Spotify playlist full of cool, chill indie pop. People were drinking Aperol spritzes from nice glassware, not beer from a can. It was modern, it was stylish. It was a success, but it was also dead. The whole thing was hollow. People were there, they were eating the food and talking in quiet, polite little groups, but there was no life, no laughter. It felt like a corporate networking event, not a family reunion. All my perfect modern touches had just sucked the soul out of the room. And then Leela showed up. She was late. She walked in wearing a beautiful dress, a bright smile plastered on her face. She moved through the party like a visiting diplomat. She hugged Uncle Robert, laughed at a joke with Aunt Carol, and complimented my mother on her earrings. She talked to everyone. Everyone except me. When she passed by me to get a drink, her arm literally brushed against mine. She turned, and for a split second, our eyes met. Her smile didn't falter, but it didn't reach her eyes. They were completely, utterly blank. She just gave me a tiny, polite nod, the kind of nod you give a stranger who holds a door open for you and then turned away. I stood there in the middle of my perfect party, holding a perfect little canapé on a perfect linen napkin, and I had never felt so alone in my entire life. I had won. I had gotten exactly what I wanted. The music was better, the food was better, everything was objectively, logically better, but I had destroyed the one thing that actually mattered. I watched her laughing with our cousins across the lawn, looking vibrant and happy, and it was clear she had moved on. She was surrounded by family. And I, the winner, was completely and utterly alone.